Hey everybody, I'm Sara Wiseman. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it means to become a spiritual psychic and what some of the tools that you're going to need for that process might be, especially some of the psychic clairs with the focus on clairvoyance, the psychic rose technique. So I just want to say, most of us know we have innate psychic abilities, and maybe we're not sure how strong our abilities are, or we don't know exactly what gifts we have, but we have this sense that there's something more to our knowing, or something beyond this rational or linear approach to the world. But we might be confused about how to open our gifts, or how to use them. And a lot of times, a lot of you guys are in the process where your gifts just seem to happen. You just know, you just have psychic knowing, you just have psychic understanding, but there's no rhyme or reason. You can't control it. So how do we move from this place of having our gifts come to us at random, and being able to work with them at will, and being able to work with them over time for many years as a process and as a practice? The first thing is, we want to know what gifts we have this on the psychic and healing spectrums. And we want to be able to use the gifts, not just some of the time, but as part of a practice that is consistent and reliable and repeatable. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So the very good news is it's really easy to learn what your gifts are, your innate gifts, and how to use them. Because these talents are innate, they exist within us as part of who we are. We don't need to struggle to open them. We don't need to learn them. Sometimes people talk about we're just remembering what we know. So sometimes really the simplest nudge in the right direction will cause this amazing blossoming of the gifts. We really do benefit from knowing which of the psychic gifts are kind of like our best talents. So most humans, maybe you're good at math or science, but you're not that great at languages, or maybe you're good at computers, but you're terrible at cooking, like me. Or maybe you're great at drawing, or maybe you're a great fencer. This idea that we're naturally better at one gift or another, or maybe you just simply enjoy one gift more than another. So that's really good to know. It's the same thing with psychic gifts. Most people have one or two super predominant gifts. Maybe they can do them all. They're all pretty easy for them. They can work with them, but some of the gifts are preferable, or some are easier, or just maybe some of the gifts are more enjoyable than others. So for example, for me, I'm naturally a channel. I've always been really easy with language and writing and audio stuff. So channeling, receiving divine messaging, is really simple for me. Whereas mediumship is something I can do. I do a lot of, but it doesn't, tick my box really. It's sometimes I feel a little drained when I do it. Whereas other people who are mediums, that's their favorite thing. I really love clairvoyance, whereas hands healing makes me feel a little woozy, I guess. I'm not sure. The energy or the vibrational state is not my preferred. So it's going to be the same for you. You might love to work clairvoyantly, or you love to work clairaudiently, or you love astral projection, or you love mediumship, you're a hands healer. So it's really helpful to be able to discern what the gifts are, how to use them, and then kind of just start to notice like, that's the one I'm best at. That's what is my favorite. I feel really good when I do that one, and begin to use that as one of your primary gifts. So one of the ways to discern is to start looking at the clairs. You know the clairs, the clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant. Um, these words that describe psychic abilities that start with that word clair, which means it's a French word, and it means clear, clarity. We're talking about clairvoyant as clear seeing. We're talking about clear seeing that is etheric, otherworldly, universal, and psychic. And this is the same for the other clairs: clairvoyant, psychic seeing, clairaudient, psychic hearing, and that includes telepathy and channeling. Clairsentient and claircognizant means psychic feeling and psychic knowing, especially all you hands healers out there, all you people that feel stuff. That's the clair that you have in your body. You have psychic ability in your body. And so we start to understand that when we're working with clairs, we're working with methods of clear knowing, of seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing beyond the reach of our ordinary rational lives. And even if you're like, my life isn't that rational, that's fine. The mainstream way, the dominant culture is rational and linear, whereas intuition is none of that. It's a right brain activity. Now, the other things to know about clear knowing is that anything that is etheric and expanded and universal is spiritual. So this psychic ability is not just a trick of the mind or a magic trick or any other kind of trick that you might use. It's a spiritual state. You are actually going into an etheric realm, which is a spiritual realm, a different dimension higher than, again, the mainstream, the everyday, the dominant, the linear, the rational. You're going to a different layer or level of the universe to do this work. And that is a spiritual level. By spiritual, I mean ourselves as expanded beings. I don't mean any particular religion or cult or belief system. I just mean we're going out of this realm of the everyday into a higher realm where we can do this work. Also, so for this, what we're going to talk about next is we're going to talk about a couple of the main clairs in a little more depth. Psychic feeling, psychic knowing, psychic seeing, psychic hearing, channeling, which is another kind of psychic hearing or clairaudience. And we're also going to look at astral projection and remote viewing. So the first one that most of you guys have, it would be hard pressed to find a person that does not possess this gift. In all the world, it would be hard to discover a person that does not feel in their body. So psychic feeling, clairsentience, is the way we feel or sense the vibe of a situation or person. And we can tell if the energy is positive or negative or clear or sticky. And again, there's no special way to turn on your clairsentience. It's always on. Another way of putting this, the body cannot lie to you, but we can choose to tune in or tune out. When we tune out, we resist whatever the body is telling us, all this information flooding in. We're just like, no, I'm not going to pay attention to that. That's an option. Or we can tune in. And so one of the ways to tune in is we just start to take a breath, stop what we're doing, and allow ourselves to feel whatever it is we're feeling about a particular situation. So when you receive a psychic feeling, you just want to start to pay attention. If your stomach feels sick when you're around a certain person, you can trust that the universe is saying, stay away. And if you're feeling wonderful around a person, or you maybe even have the sign of full body chills, or I call it body flooding, This is a way that the universe tells us yes through clairsentience or psychic feeling. Claircognizance is psychic knowing, and it's very similar to clairsentience, except for you don't really feel it fully in your body. It's psychic knowing. Claircognizance is an unshakable knowing. You just know. You just know, and nobody can tell you any differently. It's clear to you, not just in your body, but in your mind, in your whole being. We have that unshakable knowledge where we are just certain, and maybe we don't even understand why. Now, claircognizance is just like the body doesn't lie, claircognizance doesn't lie, but sometimes it's the hardest to trust. We've been taught by the culture, the dominant world culture, that we must have this rational, linear reason for something. And so when we receive a flash of intuition, sometimes we think it doesn't count or we can't trust it. It's not real. And so here is this idea of learning to trust your psychic knowing. And this is a step that opens you further. The more you trust, it's an interesting pattern. The more you trust, the more you see how things play out when you trust. The more you trust, the more your ability opens. So you trust, your ability opens. You trust, your ability opens more. You trust, you see what happens. You realize you can count on it, and so on. Now, one of my favorites, clairvoyance, psychic seeing, it's a psychic gift that's really simple for many people. Now, what I find is that if you're a person who has a lot of natural abilities with language, symbols, metaphor, visual, all of the language we use, the word language and the visual language, you're probably going to have a pretty easy time at clairvoyance. And that's because clairvoyance uses the language of symbolism as one of the way it communicates. Now, I love to use clairvoyance, or people use clairvoyance, to foretell the near future. We simply bring our awareness to the situation, envision it in our mind's eye, and then we watch in our third eye as that vision shifts and morphs. And this shows us where something is going, or where a situation is leading, or what the reality is of something and where it's going in near future. Now, other people who are clairvoyant see actual images, such as a movie in mind's eye. So interesting to have to see movies of actual situations playing out in that space. Not quite in your mind, not quite outside your mind, sort of a screen that you put up and use. And sometimes people see flashes from a different reality, and they see pictures of the future as if it's already here. So mind's eye, also sometimes known as third eye, and it's here that you can see visions that show you the truth or the energetic reality of a situation. Clairvoyance, those who use psychic seeing, often see symbols, archetypes, guiding visions, and other visual elements that provide a language of understanding or a pattern for a situation that you're looking at. Clairaudience, psychic hearing, is a psychic gift that can happen very suddenly, such as you might be in a place where you're in danger, and suddenly you'll hear "step away" in one of your ears very loudly, as if someone just said it to you. You can also hear things like a song might start playing in your head, or a song might start playing on the radio as a synchronistic way of clairaudience or psychic hearing. You can have psychic hearing when you're working with the guides or the departed. Voices come into you as telepathy. So the thing to remember is that it's not voices in the room, and it's not voices in your head. It's a kind of telepathy that arrives into your mind's ear and provides information. So it's not like hearing outside of the room, and it's not like hearing in your own head. It's in the mind's ear. We've got the mind's eye, we've got the mind's ear. And some of you will have one ear. My predominant ear is my right ear. That's where I receive the messaging comes in. Others will have the left ear. Others, it'll come in both ears. Channeling, just briefly, channeling is a different kind of clairaudience in which you receive some kind of lengthy messaging. A lot of you guys know me from the channeling I've done in a lot of my books. And then in the divine astrology that I've been doing for a while, I'll channel the monthly forecast or the annual forecast based on what the guides are, what I'm receiving from the guides in language. So this may be something other people have channeling where a guide comes in and tells them specifically something they are meant to say in their voice. It's all just another aspect of psychic hearing. And then finally, astral projection, remote viewing. It's really a kind of psychic teleporting. Astral projection is spirit travel to another dimension, while the physical container stays here. You know, you can have astral projection when you're daydreaming, when you're dreaming, even when you're reading a book and you get carried away, or watching a movie and you are transported into that reality. So we transport our spirit self to another time and place. And the thing is that we don't need to be in a dream or daydream state, or we don't need to be reading a book or watching a movie. We can just choose in meditation to go to other places and explore what's there. We can go into this time frame. We can jump layers of space and go journey around another country in our spirit self, or we can go and go to a past life or a future life, journey around there. Or we can also use astral projection or remote viewing to do things like find a missing person or find a missing object, or look around and see what's there. So astral projection, remote viewing, that's a teleportation gift that I combine together when I'm thinking about it. It's a way of jumping space and sometimes jumping time and space and journeying around and seeing what's there. So if you're interested, you know, these are things you can learn. You can learn all of them. It's not hard. Some of these I didn't mention are mediumship and guides and angels and some of the healing work, but just wanted to focus today on these clairs, psychic seeing, especially clairvoyance, psychic hearing, psychic feeling, and also working on this idea of astral projection and sort of teleporting. As you start to practice, you will discover, hey, I'm awesome at this. I love it. Hey, not my thing, but I can still do it. This is my preference. And you can learn how to hone your gifts further. I'm Sara Wiseman. You can always find me at sarawiseman.com. We offer a complete library of self-study courses that you'll find at sarawiseman.com. I invite you to dive in, pick what looks good to you, and good luck on your journey. It's a very fascinating process, and it's both a psychic practice and a spiritual practice that is very rewarding to anyone who's interested in this path. Thanks for listening.